everyone. This is Karen.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Shane.
Today we're looking at part 1 of Matera.
European capital of culture.
And the vocabulary words are overlook.
Overlook.
Chuck's house overlooks a beautiful lake.
Boast.
Boast.
The hotel boasts modern rooms, amazing views, and a convenient location.
Construct.
Construct.
The city constructed a new bridge in June of last year.
Horrify.
Horrify.
Al was horrified at the movie's violent ending.
District.
District.
The Nashville Entertainment District has plenty of great restaurants. So we're talking about this really unique place called Matera.
Okay, and this is in southern Italy.
It is in southern Italy.
So what makes Matera so unique?
It's got so many caves. And people do everything. So many things in caves. You can swim in caves,
Whoa.
bathe in caves, and do everything.
Can I play basketball in a cave? Maybe.
I don't know, maybe.
Probably, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So these caves, actually, people have been living in there for in those caves for 12,000 years.
It's got a lot of history.
A long history. But I think around the 17th century, it really fell into poverty, right?
That's right. People didn't really have money and they were poor. It was only until 1950 the inhabitants of Matera started, moved to better homes.
Right. And so that was the first time in thousands of years that nobody occupied those caves, right?
You are right.
So when did they start becoming, now they're so popular, when did they become popular?
Well, I think it was in the 1980s, and they tried to redevelop Matera into a tourist destination.
Yeah, and then finally it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Right? And right now it's definitely a capital of culture.
I saw some pictures of it. I would definitely visit.
I definitely want to go.
I know.
That sounds really cool.
Let's go to Matera.
Matera, European capital of culture. Matera is one of the most unusual places a traveler could ever hope to visit. The city, located on the side of a hill overlooking a steep river valley in southern Italy, boasts hundreds of caves. Go there and you will find yourself eating in caves, sleeping in caves, even swimming and bathing in caves. And you won't be the first to do so.
Hello and welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
I'm Kim.
And Kim, today we're going to be looking at another wonderful location somewhere in the world that we will be able to visit sometime when we can travel again.
Someday. And this one is in Italy.
That's right. I think we can just add it to the long list of places we've been learning about and reading about over the past year. I have a long list of places to go once everyone can travel. Italy is a country I've never been to. Have you ever visited Italy?
Me either. The closest I got was Spain, and they're very similar in some ways, but also very different in others. So I'm looking forward to learning about this city in Italy today.
Absolutely. And I have to admit, of all the places I'd love to go in Italy, I've never heard of this place, so it will definitely be added to the list. What are we talking about and where are we talking about? We're talking about Matera, European capital of culture.
Part 1.
Part 1, yeah.
Now, Matera is one of the most unusual places a traveler could ever hope to visit. Oh, sounds interesting.
That sounds great already. A very unusual, very strange, very unique kind of place. And you might be saying, really, how strange and unusual is it? Well, listen to this. The city, located on the side of a hill overlooking a steep river valley in southern Italy, boasts hundreds of caves.
Wow.
Not hundreds of buildings or hundreds of pizza restaurants, hundreds of caves in the city on a hill overlooking a river valley.
Maybe there's a pizza restaurant in the cave.
There's probably one or two. But caves! Most cities don't have caves overlooking anything.
This is really cool. And overlook meaning to be above, with a view looking down. So it's on the cliffs here, and it's got a beautiful view of the ocean down below. For example, Chuck's house overlooks a beautiful lake. House is up here, and you can see all the view of the lake.
That's right. Not many cities boast something as unusual as hundreds of caves in them. And this word boast, now we often use this word when talking about a person. If you're boasting, it's a verb, you're talking about yourself and how great you are. You're very proud of yourself, so you're telling everyone how wonderful and brilliant and amazing you are. I'm so fantastic. But of course here, a city is not boasting, it's not showing off to the other cities and talking about how great it is. So when we use boasting about a thing, like a place, like a city, we're saying it has some special features, something that make it kind of unusual and unique, something that might be attractive to people who want to go and visit. For example, Taipei boasts some wonderful night markets.
Yes.
Taiwan boasts the largest number of convenience stores for a country its size in the world. These are unusual, special things that people might want to come and see and check out, something that makes it a very cool place to visit. It boasts some interesting stuff. For example, the hotel boasts modern rooms, amazing views, and a convenient location.
Yeah, all things that make you want to go there and make this place unique.
Yeah, and special and great.
So in Matera, go there and you will find yourself eating in caves, sleeping in caves, even swimming and bathing in caves. And you won't be the first to do so.
Swimming in a cave.
That sounds really cool. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Interesting. Well, yeah, so you would imagine that a place that has so many unique things, so many special caves, would be somewhere people have traveled before. That's why it said, you won't be the first to do so. Who's been to Matera before us? We'll find out after the break.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这一次要介绍的景点是位于意大利南部的马泰拉 （Matera）。也许你跟我一样，在读这篇文章之前，从来没有听过马泰拉这个地方，但是它非常的特别。马泰拉位于一个俯瞰陡峭河谷的山坡上，那这边有数百个洞穴哦。来到这里，你就会发现自己在洞穴里面吃饭，在洞穴里面睡觉，甚至是在洞穴里面游泳跟洗澡。好，我们来看两个单字 ，overlook。是表达俯瞰、眺望。好，那同学们，我们如果在看远的东西，有时候就会忽略了眼前的一些小细节，对不对？所以 overlook 它还有忽略的意思哦。好，那么再来看到 boast 这个动词，它有夸耀、吹嘘的意思。那么在课文里面是表达拥有，通常是指拥有某件值得骄傲的事物。这边还有一个重点是 find。或是 leave 加上受词，再加受词补语的句型。好，动词 find 可以表达发现、发掘，那么 leave 可以表达使处于某种状态。后面呢，常常会用形容词、分词或者是介系词片语来当它们受词补语。好，那个句型就是 find 或是 leave 加受词，加上形容词或现在分词或过去分词或是介系词片语。同学们要特别注意，如果你想要用分词来当受词补语的话，用现在分词是表达主动或进行的状态，那么用过去分词则是表达被动或完成的状态，也就是说那个受词的状态哦。好，那我们分别用 find 和 leave 来造两个例句。第一个例句 ，The police found him asleep on a bench in the park。警方发现他睡在公园一张长椅上。这边受词补语我们用形容词 asleep 睡着的。好，第二个例句是 He found his sister waiting for him outside the classroom。他发现姐姐正在教室外面等他。那这边受词补语我们就用现在分词来表达正在进行的状态。第三个例句 I'll leave the front door unlocked。我不会把前门锁上的。这边呢，我们是用 unlocked 这个过去分词来当补语，去补充说明门是没锁上的状态。第四个例句 The news left him in complete shock。那个消息使他震惊不已。好，这边我们是用介系词片语来当补语用 in complete shock。好，那接回课文中。
Matera, European capital of culture. The caves here have been inhabited for over 12,000 years, which makes Matera the third oldest city in the world. Over thousands of years, people added churches, storerooms, stables for animals, and house-like front entrances and water systems. They constructed streets on top of older caves and reached the top of the hill in the Middle Ages.
All right, so lots of tourists, of course, want to visit Matera. It boasts some pretty amazing stuff. As we get back to the article, we read, the caves here have been inhabited for over 12,000 years, which makes Matera the third oldest city in the world.
That's amazing.
That is an amazing long time ago. But actually, when you think about it, we call people from a long time ago cavemen. They lived in caves.
Actually,
so
yes.
the original cavemen lived in the caves in Matera.
That is a very good observation.
Makes
I didn't even
sense to
think
me.
about that. Well, over thousands of years, people added churches,
Sure.
storerooms, stables for animals, and house-like front entrances and water systems. So
And swimming pools.
And swimming
And
pools.
swimming pools.
So as they became more modern and time went on, we actually have something that more resembles our modern-day houses.
Absolutely. The cavemen had to go and shave, get a
Yeah.
haircut, look like modern people. So they needed modern businesses and other things that you find in any city. These ones were just in caves. What else did they do? The early inhabitants, it says they constructed streets on top of older caves and reached the top of the hill in the Middle Ages. So this is around the year 1000 to around 1500. So still about 1,000 years ago from our time, they built more streets. The streets were built on top of the older caves, and pretty soon the town stretched from the bottom of the hill right up to the top.
Oh, they did make it to the top
They
in the end.
did.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Good for them.
They had to construct a lot of stuff, but they made it.
Yes, they were constructing things in the hill that eventually made it to the top.
Right.
Construct, to build from nothing, usually buildings. So things like houses, department stores are constructed. For example, the city constructed a new bridge in June of last year. So you can construct a bridge as well.
Absolutely. It's one of those interesting verbs. We would often use the word make to
Yes.
say a lot of other things, right? You make a cake, you make a shirt, you make a table, but you would construct something big like a building or something like that. All right, let's take a break and then we'll be back with more about Matera.
刚刚说马泰拉有数百个洞穴，而这里的洞穴早在12000多年前就已经有人居住嘞，这使得马泰拉成为世界第3古老的城市。虽然12000年听起来很不可思议，可是你仔细想想，石器时代的人类就住在洞穴里面啊。Mike 老师说的 caveman， 我们翻译成中文常会讲成穴居人的意思。好，那再来看补充单字 inhabit。它是动词，表达居住于什么，栖息在什么。当我们用地方加上 be inhabited by 加上名词，就可以表达某地住着什么什么。好，那在 inhabit 后面加上 ant 变成 inhabitant， 就可以表达某地区的居民。那么课文接着写到说，几千年以来，人们帮这些洞穴加入了教堂啊、储藏室，还有饲养家畜的地方，以及还有类似房子的前门，还有供水系统。他们也在比较古老的洞穴上面有建造街道，然后还有在中世纪的时候，他们就一路盖到山顶了。好，单字 construct 这个动词就表示建造、构筑的意思。好，接回课文中。
Matera, European capital of culture. By the 17th century, Matera had fallen into extreme poverty. The people of Italy were horrified at the conditions there. Finally, in the 1950s, the inhabitants of Matera were moved to better homes, leaving the caves empty for the first time in thousands of years. The 1980s saw an effort to redevelop the caves as a tourist destination, and it paid off. Matera's ancient Sassi, stone, districts were named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1993. In 2019, the city became a European capital of culture.
Okay, and we're back learning about Matera still. In the first part, we learned that they actually lived in caves for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And they were very old as well. How old again?
12,000 years people have been living there. Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
That is amazing. And even in the Middle Ages, they are still building roads, but mostly still living in the caves in the hillside.
Yes. Now, by the 17th century, Matera had fallen into extreme poverty. The people of Italy were horrified at the conditions there.
Yeah, I guess 12,000 years ago, when your choice was to live in a cave or to live in a tree where lions could eat you, living in a cave was a good choice.
Yeah.
But by the 17th century, that's the 1600s, people had houses.
Yeah.
The Romans had apartment buildings 1,000 years before that. So yeah, people weren't really interested in living caves 400 years ago. So the situation in Matera was not good, and people were horrified at the conditions there. You didn't really want to live there anymore. And if you did, it would be a terrible place to be. Now, if you see something terrible, if something terrible happens to you, you could feel horrified, right? To horrify. Well, this verb means to shock and to fill with fear. When you see something terrible happening, maybe right in front of your eyes, you're right there, you're walking down the street and a baby or a dog runs out into traffic and there's cars and you're like, oh no, something terrible is gonna happen. You would be horrified. Right at that moment, you are filled with fear and terror and shock and surprise in a really, really bad way. Now, hopefully someone goes and saves the baby or the dog and the situation is not terrible, but right at that moment when you see it, when you're filled with fear, when you're surprised and shocked in a terrible way, that is the feeling of being horrified. If you're horrified, you see something in front of you and you're not happy about what is happening. For example, Al was horrified at the movie's violent ending. Ooh, everyone just pulled out guns and started shooting, and oh, the hero died and the bad guy died and the girlfriend died. Oh my God, it was horrifying.
That is horrifying. I feel horrified myself.
Yeah, it was horrifying. Yeah, definitely.
So finally, in the 1950s, the inhabitants of Matera were moved to better homes,
Phew.
leaving the caves empty for the first time in thousands of years. Wow, it still took until the 1950s for them to move.
People had cars in the 1950s.
Yeah,
Where
that's
did
the
you
modern
park-
day.
You parked your car in your garage cave?
In your cave next door.
I don't understand, but I guess by the 1950s, people said, enough of this, we're going to live in a modern home. But it was still there. So then we read, the 1980s saw an effort to redevelop the caves as a tourist destination, and it paid off. So some smart people, historians and people in the government said, you know, we have this wonderful place. No one lives there, but the history is so interesting. So they decided to develop it into a tourist destination, a place for tourists to go. And it paid off. That it was a big success. Matera's ancient sassi, or stone districts, were named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1993. And then, in 2019, the city became a European capital of culture.
So in the end, things kind of worked out for Matera there.
Absolutely. One of the 3 oldest cities in the world. Sure, you want to preserve that so people in the future can come and visit and have an idea of what life was like back then.
Yes. Now we have this word district. A district is a neighborhood within a city. In Taipei, we have the East District, where people love to go and eat and do some shopping. A neighborhood within a city can just have its own name, its own characteristics, why people like to go there. For example, the Nashville Entertainment District has plenty of great restaurants. This is in Nashville, Tennessee, in the U.S., a place that's famous not only for music, but also for restaurants, apparently.
Oh, very interesting. We might call that an area, but districts, they do often have a special name that locals and tourists will know about when you visit that city. All right, well, that's it for Matera, but that's not it for our look at this interesting place for this month. We'll have much more in part 2 about Matera, European Capital of Culture. So please come back for that tomorrow. Bye!
Bye!
到了17世纪，马泰拉陷入极度贫穷，意大利人对于当地的情况感到非常震惊。那么最后在1950年代，马泰拉的居民被迁到更好的家园了，然后就让那些洞穴几千年以来第一次空荡荡的。好，单字 horrified horrified 就可以表达使什么感到震惊，使什么恐惧。文中是用它的过去分词 horrified 来当形容词，去形容是感到非常震惊的。好，那我们也可以用它的现在分词 horrifying 来当形容词，去描述说令人震惊的、可怕的。好，那么刚刚说到了17世纪，文中是用到 by 加上时间点，我们来学它的意思和用法。介系词 by 表示在某时间点之前，或是到什么什么时，或者是不晚于某个时间点。那可以用来描述过去或是未来情况。主要子句呢，可以用简单式表达，或是用完成式来强调动作已经完成。好，我们来看2个例句。第一个 ，He aims to complete 3 marathons by the end of this year. 他打算在今年年底之前完成3场马拉松赛事。第2个例句 ，By 11 o'clock, she had drunk 3 cups of coffee. 到了11点的时候，她已经喝了3杯咖啡了。好，那课文最后写到说，在1980年代，人们努力要把这些洞穴建成一个旅游胜地，把它们重建成一个旅游胜地。那么在1993年，马泰拉古老这个石窟石屋这个地区啊，就被联合国教科文组织列为世界遗产地了。现在这个地方成了欧洲的文化之都。我们最后来看单字 district。District 就可以表达行政区，也可以表达区或是区域的意思。像我们有时候可能会讲商业区、购物区，那个区就会用到这个字。好，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学们别走开，马上回来哦。
Matera, European Capital of Culture. Matera is one of the most unusual places a traveler could ever hope to visit. The city, located on the side of a hill overlooking a steep river valley in southern Italy, boasts hundreds of caves. Go there and you will find yourself eating in caves, sleeping in caves, even swimming and bathing in caves, and you won't be the first to do so. The caves here have been inhabited for over 12,000 years, which makes Matera the third oldest city in the world. Over thousands of years, people added churches, storerooms, stables for animals, and house-like front entrances and water systems. They constructed streets on top of older caves and reached the top of the hill in the Middle Ages. By the 17th century, Matera had fallen into extreme poverty. The people of Italy were horrified at the conditions there. Finally, in the 1950s, the inhabitants of Matera were moved to better homes, leaving the caves empty for the first time in thousands of years. The 1980s saw an effort to redevelop the caves as a tourist destination, and it paid off. Matera's ancient Sassi, stone, districts were named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1993. In 2019, the city became a European Capital of Culture.
Top Church is a valuable part of Sanxia Baida community. It is in the Glory Town building near National Taipei University Sanxia campus. The large cross on top of the building is a landmark and lights the way to Sanxia. Over 6 years, the church grew from a small gathering of 20 to several thousand. It has become an important resource that encourages growth in the community. It organizes many interesting events throughout the year. These include holiday activities as well as singing, speech, and sports competitions. Besides this, it reaches out to the community to improve people's quality of life. Church members often visit needy families that are going through a tough time. They also go to local schools to help the younger generations build character. The organization's support means a lot to the people it has benefited. Top Church shines a light on those in need and leads those who want to excel. Top Church truly makes Sanxia Baida community a warmer, more exciting place.
See you next time!